And check in with my cohort there at BamaOnline.com. Mr. Hank South does an outstanding job covering Alabama Crimson Tide recruiting for us there at the website, which, by the way, the BamaOnline.com, the member sites there on the 247sports.com network today, VIP accessibility free to you throughout this Wednesday. So take advantage of that opportunity and check out BamaOnline.com or any other site there on the 247sports.com network. Again, VIP access free to you today only. And with that, we welcome Hank onto the program. And Hank, I'd say, given the sort of commitment watch that Alabama fans are on right now, never been a better time to take advantage of that opportunity.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, we've seen an uptick in kind of the momentum and everything happening with Bama recruiting the last, 5 or 6 weeks as the class has gone from 1 commit to 5. And, there's a big announcement set for tomorrow from Ian Jackson, the linebacker out of Prattville, with Alabama heavily in the mix there. So great time to try it out. And obviously, we're going to see more of those announcements pop up as we continue on to the summer months.
Now, Hank, Alabama had also been involved, I believe, with Jayden Roberts, the offensive lineman from North Shore High School there in the Houston area, a school that the Crimson Tide mined in the 2020 class to take Damian George out of that same program. Is Roberts, who I believe is expected to announce a commitment perhaps at the top of the hour, is he considered pretty much a heavy Auburn lean at this point going into that announcement?
Yeah, that kind of seems to be the consensus going into the announcement, and it's kind of been an interesting recruitment to cover. It seems like, maybe Bama, LSU, and even Oklahoma State were kind of the teams out front. He even said those three were his favorites after he visited for Junior Day Tuscaloosa back in February. As time went on, as the dead period went into place, it seems like maybe, contact wasn't as much with him that we've, discovered in the last couple of weeks. I think Bama was very high on him. I think all the schools that are recruiting him are very high on him. I think there was kind of a desire to maybe see him in a camp setting. Obviously, that can't happen. Maybe even, see some more of his senior tape this fall. So, Bama likes him a lot. It's hard to say, would they have turned him down? Not sure. But it does seem like with Auburn getting his quarterback from North Shore and Demetrius Davis recently, he committed to the Tigers. There's been this sudden momentum, turn to the Tigers having the edge for him, and it's kind of interesting because he's actually never visited Auburn. Like, if he commits to Auburn today, he's going to do it having never stepped foot on campus. So that'll be something interesting to watch. We talked about, flip season once visits open back up, like how crazy it'll probably be this fall. So maybe he's a guy we keep an eye on later this year.
Yeah, I was going to ask you about that one more time because it does seem like programs on different kids are at different points in the evaluation process, I guess, that some are more ready to pull the trigger and go all in. Some are even pushing a lot of kids for commitments. I guess Alabama, maybe you're picking that up in some form or fashion, but maybe not to the extent of some other programs. And again, it's probably a player-by-player basis too, right?
Right, and when Nick Saban spoke with Josh Pate on our social distance series a couple weeks ago on 24/7 Sports, he was talking about how there's a lot of schools taking commitments right now, a lot of schools filling up, but Bama is still trying to do its best with as much information as they have to check the critical factors on these guys. We always talk about that with Nick Saban, how they have these boxes they check on each prospect, before accepting commitments from them. And obviously a large part of that is seeing them in the spring in person, seeing them at camp in the summer. So without either of those two, tools they have this year, they're really having to kind of go off a lot on film, a lot of guys, that they've already seen in person, maybe not necessarily in camp, but they have familiarity with. We saw Kane Williams commit. He was on campus on March 7th. So they've seen him recently. They know what they're pretty much getting out of him. I think he worked out last summer as well. So, yeah, Bama's still, doing the due diligence. They're doing as much as they can, under the circumstances to really check those boxes and check those critical factors on guys they take. Earlier,
you alluded to an upcoming announcement on Thursday from Ian Jackson, the 4-star linebacker from Prattville, just down Highway 82. Speaking of crystal balls trending in a particular school's direction, that seems to be the case with Ian Jackson in Alabama, who already has one in-state linebacker committed for the 2021 cycle.
Yeah, all signs look as though they're pointing towards Bama being the favorite heading into tomorrow. He's announced the top 6. He put that out on Saturday, and he's releasing a commitment video on Thursday. The time is to be determined. I think they're still sorting that out as far as when he's going to put the video out. But it is expected at some point tomorrow, and Bama does appear to be the favorite. And, this has been an interesting recruitment. Ian Jackson's a kid with all sorts of family ties to Auburn. I think, I don't think there's a person in his family that went to Alabama or, has much connection to the Crimson Tide. It's all been Auburn. And so when Auburn offered him earlier this spring, it kind of appeared as though, maybe they have the edge if they're pushing for him. But, Bama did offer first. They offered on that February 1st junior day when he was on campus for that visit and, just maintained contact with him, laid out a plan that he really likes. They've done a great job of building a relationship with him and his family. He's really close with Charles Kelly, who's been just a stellar recruiter on the Tide staff in his time on campus, and Pete Golding as well, the defensive coordinator. So I like Bama's chances heading into tomorrow. I think Auburn's the main competition. I know he likes Florida State, he likes Oklahoma, but I think Bama's kind of set itself apart here heading into tomorrow.
Getting back into a school and a program that's been really good to the Alabama Crimson Tide in the past. You can go back to the late, great Kevin Turner 15 years ago or so. You're talking about Roman Harper. Been a little bit of a while, though, maybe for Prattville and Alabama, although Ty Pirine, the walk-on punter for the Crimson Tide, hails from Prattville. But so let's talk about linebacker in general, because you think about the 2020 class, and the Crimson Tide absolutely knocked it out of the park, both inside and outside. And so I think it would be natural to sort of wonder, how effective or what exactly the need would be at those positions going into 2021. But I know you did a really good overview. You can find the linebacker overview for the 2021 class by Hank South at BOL right now. But it still looks like Alabama is intent on stacking another elite type of class there at that position, Hank.
Yeah, no doubt. Without that being one of the priority positions we highlighted earlier this spring when we switched the calendar to 2021, Bama certainly treated it like that. That's probably to be expected. They don't really tone down the recruiting efforts at any position just because the guys they've signed in the past. They go for the best guys available, and that's certainly the case, with who they're targeting. And, we talked about Ian Jackson, who's announcing tomorrow as a big target. Deontay Lawson already committed as an inside linebacker in the 2021 class from Mobile Christian. But, you go down that list, we've talked about Xavier's story for forever, I feel like, since the staff offered in early January of 2019. He's a guy that's still, very much in the mix. Georgia, Auburn, Florida are trying to keep it close with him at this point in time. So he's a guy we're watching. But a name of note, and there's a bunch of name of notes. I have that whole story up on Bama Online. But a guy we've been talking about the last 5 or 6 days a lot more in terms of trending towards Alabama is Dallas Turner, a 4-star edge rusher from St. Thomas Aquinas down in Fort Lauderdale, which Bama fans will remember getting Jordan Battle and Braylon Ingram in the 2019 class. He's a guy that's come out and said Bama has the edge in his recruitment. He feels they have, the best, they've done the best job, building a relationship with them. That's, where he sees himself fitting best at this point in time. Georgia and Clemson are both there with them, with Alabama just behind them at this point in his order. And he actually put out a really cool-looking graphic yesterday on Twitter that Bama had sent him of being on the cover of Forbes magazine. It's one of the more impressive graphics I've seen from one of these recruiting departments. So he's a big target, trending to Bama at this point in time. Jeremiah Williams from down the road in Birmingham, from Ramsey High School, another one of those jack linebacker types, a guy that can probably play any of the linebacker positions, but he's a guy that's a Bama-Auburn battle, and then there's several more on that feature. Then I have to mention Kendrick Blackshire as well, another inside linebacker target. So, it doesn't seem like they're slowing down on their recruiting efforts at the linebacker position in 2021.
Helps, obviously, when you got a couple right here in the state that you like a lot. maybe even more than just a couple that you expect to have committed after tomorrow, with potentially Jackson joining Deontay Lawson. But something else I wanted to ask you about that we've talked about earlier in the program involves just the high school football season for the upcoming fall, because we've gotten so caught up in the NFL and the SEC and Power 5 football and how that's going to come off. What are you getting, Hank? Because you talk from, coaches to players to parents in some instances, and I understand it's probably different given the locale of the person that you're talking to, whether it's Texas, Georgia, Alabama, Florida. Now, what is the anticipation like? What's the expectation right now for a lot of these folks in terms of what high school football is going to look like this fall?
Yeah, I think that's still kind of remains largely unknown. I think obviously there's a lot of anticipation. There's a lot of excitement about, getting back to being able to host, have team workouts this summer in June. So I think you got to start from there. I think, going back to the college level, to kind of relate it to high school, Chris Hummer had a really good story yesterday on 24/7 Sports about how, with colleges having to shut down for the spring, a lot of the, attention has been turned to private trainers and guys. And those are kind of the silent, coaches right now, keeping these guys in shape and getting them ready to stay ready to get back on campus and participate in the workouts of the team and get ready for fall camp. And, one of the trainers, I think, said, a lot of these guys are going to be out of shape. He said he's having guys throw up in practice or in training a lot. So it's going to be an adjustment period. But I think, it just starts with, getting back, kind of taking a measure of where everything's at once you're back on campus, being able to do team workouts at the high school level, making sure guys, get back in the weight room, get back in shape. I think that's obviously at least a month-long period you got to spend doing that before you can actually start talking about football. But, yeah, there's still kids talking about potentially transferring to different schools. I talked to one prospect. I won't share his name, so I don't think he wanted that, but he was actually looking at transferring to IMG in case his senior season didn't happen in his home state. So there's still a lot of questions to be answered, and guys still kind of trying to figure out what the landscape is going to look like this fall and whether they're even going to be able to play.
Wow. As we let you go, Hank, and we always appreciate the time here on the program, a little bit of hoops recruiting. Nike Sabande, the transfer from Miami of Ohio. I know Brian Snow of our network, 247sports.com, here in the last day or so, has issued a crystal ball for Alabama in regards to Sabande. Is that kind of the way things still sit? And have you heard anything else in terms of a potential time frame for Sabande? It was, I guess, expected that sometime this week he could make his decision known.
Yeah, I talked to Brian Snow within our network about that, and he feels pretty confident about Alabama's chances. I know some of the other programs that were in the mix for Nike Sabande, Georgia, Arkansas, Georgetown, and Xavier. Some of them feel as though Alabama is the favorite to land him as well. So that kind of seems to be the pick at this point in time. And he didn't set an exact date as far as when he's going to announce, but the feeling was at some point before Saturday. So, we're in that kind of time frame where it could be really any day. But, Brian Snow, felt good about Bama's chances. He fits kind of everything Bama does, and Nado's his philosophy coming out of Miami of Ohio. So he'd be a guy that sat the upcoming season and then was able to contribute in 2021.
There you go, Hank South, always with great stuff at BamaOnline.com, where today only VIP access absolutely free to you. You need to do it today at BamaOnline.com. And Hank South, such a big, big part of our coverage there. As always, Hank, we appreciate it. Thanks, my friend.
No problem. Thanks for having me on, Travis.